Hey there friends on YouTube, my name is Roger with Electronics and Gadgets. If this is your first time here, thanks for stopping by. Please hit the like and subscribe. If you've been here before, thank you. My assistant Fred, by the way, was being a little moody today. I had to lock him up, so he won't be joining us on this video. I'm sure he will in later videos, but I'm including a picture of him for everyone to see if you haven't seen Fred. My next video is on Apple's new M1 MacBook Pro and M1 MacBook Air. This is going to be a lengthy video, so kick your feet back, enjoy yourself, and I'm going to cover a lot of different topics. For the first time in nearly 15 years, Apple's newest MacBooks and Mac Mini doesn't come with Intel processors. Instead, they use the brand new Apple M1 chip as a powerful replacement for the many generations of Intel CPUs that have powered Apple computers since 2006. The M1 is the first appearance of the new computer chip that Apple has dubbed Apple Silicon. The new Macs have been available now for about a month, with the M1 including the MacBook Air and the 13-inch MacBook Pro and the Mac Mini. If you're contemplating buying one right out of the gate like I did, you're entering an amazing future. The prices for each one I'm going to include in the video. First off, we have the MacBook Pro I'd like to discuss. Apple offers a couple different configurations, as you can see in this chart. All offer the same speed M1 chip with a base price of $1,299. The base version has 8 gig of unified memory, 256 gigabytes of storage, hard drive storage. You can get 16 gigabytes of unified memory for $200 extra. You can also get 512 gigabytes for $200 extra, 1 terabyte for $400, or 2 terabytes for $600. I'm going to be going into depth on the memory and hard drives a little later. What's in the box? You get, of course, the computer, the USB C-to-C cord, which is about 2 meters, and the 61-watt USB power adapter. Now that the price is out of the way, let's get into specifics. First off, the processor for the M1 Silicon processor. It's a system on a chip, or called a SoC. It has 8 core CPUs with 4 high-performance cores and 4 efficiency cores. It has an 8-core GPU, and it has a 16-core neural engine. It's an entire system on a chip. Until now, a Mac needed multiple chips to deliver all of its features, including a processor, an I/O, input-output, security, with memory. With the M1, these technologies are combined into a single system on a chip, or again, an SoC, delivering a new level of integration, far more simple, more efficient, and amazing performance. And with incredibly small transistors measured at an atomic scale, the M1 is remarkably complex, packing the largest number of transistors that have ever been put into a single chip. It's also the first personal computer chip built using the industry-leading 5-nanometer process technology. In comparison, the Apple A13 Bionic in the iPhone 11 series phones has a 7-nanometer process technology. There are 16 billion transistors, the most that's ever been put into a single chip. Next, let's discuss the unified memory. It's shared across the entire system. The M1 also features Unified Memory Architecture, or UMA. The M1 unifies its high bandwidth, low latency memory into a single pool within a custom package. As a result, all of the technologies in the SoC can access the same data without copying it between multiple pools of memory. This dramatically improves performance and power efficiency. Video apps are snappier, games are richer and more detailed, image processing is lightning fast, and your entire system is more responsive. Next, massive CPU performance using a fraction of the power. The 8-core CPU in the M1 is by far the highest performance CPU that Apple has ever built. Designed to crush tasks using the least amount of power, the M1 features 2 types of cores, high performance and high efficiency. So, from editing family photos to exporting iMovie videos for the web to managing huge raw libraries in Lightning Room to checking your email, the M1 blazes right through all of it without blazing through battery life. Let's discuss the 4 high-performance cores. The M1 features 4 performance cores, each designed to run a single task as efficiently as possible while maximizing performance. The high-performance core is the world's fastest CPU core when it comes to low-power silicon. And because the M1 has 4 of them, multi-threaded workloads take a huge leap in performance as well. Next, let's talk the 4 high-efficiency cores. The M1 has 4 high-efficiency cores to handle lighter workloads. They use 1/10 of the power while still delivering outstanding performance. These E-cores are the most efficient place to run lightweight tasks, allowing the performance cores to be used for your most demanding work. The M1 delivers significantly higher performance, 2 times faster CPU performance, at every power level when compared with the very latest PC laptop chip. At just 10 watts, the thermal envelope of a MacBook Air, M1 delivers up to 2 times the CPU performance of a PC chip, and the M1 can match the peak performance of the PC chip while using just 1/4 of the power. The M1 has 3 times the performance per watt. When we look back at the single-threaded performance of the low-end silicon in the Mac, gains in performance per watt have been very small from one chip to the next. But when we look at the M1, we see a massive 3 times improvement in performance per watt. The M1 is the world's fastest integrated graphics in a personal computer. Typically, PCs have to use a discrete chip to get great graphics performance, which consumes a lot of power, but the M1 is different. Its integrated graphics brings the best of both worlds, a huge increase in graphics performance together with low power consumption. The result of years of thorough analysis of Mac applications, the GPU in the M1 is the most advanced graphic processor that's ever built. With up to 8 GPU cores, the M1 is capable of executing nearly 2,500 threads at a time. From teraflops to texture bandwidth to fill rate to power efficiency, this GPU is in a class of its own and brings the world's fastest integrated graphics in a personal computer. At every power level, the M1 delivers significantly higher graphics performance than the very latest PC laptop chip, for up to 2 times the graphic speed. The M1 can match the peak performance of the PC chip while using just 1/3 of the power. The next generation of machine learning. The M1 features the latest neural engine, Its 16-core design is capable of executing a massive 11 trillion operations per second. In fact, with the powerful 8-core GPU, machine learning accelerators, and the neural engine, the entire M1 chip is designed to excel at machine learning. Serious performance. Ridiculous battery life. The M1 extends battery life even while bringing a massive increase in performance. But the chip itself is only part of the incredible power efficiency story. macOS Big Sur features advanced power management that intelligently allocates tasks between the M1 performance and efficiency cores, automatically optimizing for lightweight tasks like reading a note or performing intensive tasks like playing the latest game. The result is the best battery life ever on a Mac. An OS made for M1 down to its core. macOS Big Sur is engineered to take full advantage of all the capability and power of the M1 chip, making everything you love about macOS faster, better, and more secure. It's Apple's most powerful software ever, running on the most advanced hardware yet. Blazing fast performance. Systems with the M1 now wake instantly. Everyday tasks like launching apps are nearly instantaneous. Scrolling in Safari is even smoother. System animations are snappier, and the sheer speed of the M1 combined with the macOS technologies like Metal delivers a huge boost to even the most demanding apps, so you can do things like render 3D animations or edit raw video footage with ease. M1 and Big Sur offers the most advanced security of any personal computer, with hardware verified secure boot, automatic high-performance encryption for all your files, and new security protections built deep into the code execution architect of the M1. One of the biggest attractions for me, besides all that I've gone over so far, is the ability to run iPhone and iPad apps. For the first time, you can run your favorite iPhone and iPad apps directly on your Mac. That means more games to play, more content to watch, and more apps for all the things you love to do. They work and behave like true Mac apps, with a menu bar, support for resizable windows, mouse and trackpad control, and more. iPhone and iPad apps you previously purchased that are now available for Mac can simply be downloaded for your purchase list, and of course they're available in the Mac Apple Store. Next, let's discuss the MacBook Air M1 prices. The base model is $999. The 512 gigabyte and 8-core model is $1,249. I wanted to make a note. It's been rumored the 7-core versions are M1 chips that had a flaw in the 8th core. So Apple offers the 7 cores in the MacBook Air and other models, and another model in 8 cores, but that's yet to be confirmed. Okay, on to external differences in the MacBook Pro to the MacBook Air. The external differences first. The 2020 M1 MacBook Air and the 13-inch MacBook Pro both use nearly sealed and disposable aluminum glass case designs of a similar style, but the MacBook Air is available in a warm-toned gold color option in addition to silver and a dark space gray like the 13-inch MacBook Pro. The MacBook Air also is tapered to be thinner towards the front, whereas the 13-inch MacBook Pro models are of uniform thickness. I'll buy they have an identical footprint. The 13-inch MacBook Pro is only 0.2 of a pound heavier, 3 pounds instead of 2.8. But because the MacBook Air is tapered, it feels quite a bit smaller. The 2020 M1 MacBook Air and a 13-inch MacBook Pro both have quality 13.3 color widescreen LED backlit displays. That's 2560 by 1600 native resolution at 227 ppi, which displays as a scaled resolution of 1440 by 900 by default, with True Tone technology that automatically adjusts the color temperature of the display. However, the 13-inch MacBook Pro display is a bit brighter, 500 nits instead of the 400 nits for the MacBook Air. Both have an integrated 720p FaceTime HD webcam, scissor switch type keyboard, large Force Touch trackpad, 2 Thunderbolt 3 capable ports, USB-C connector, 3.5-inch headphone jack, Bluetooth 5.0, and 82x11AX Wi-Fi 6. However, the 13-inch MacBook Pro also has an integrated touch bar that replaces the traditional function keys with a touch-sensitive display that presents customized controls for the macOS and different applications. This touch bar provides Touch ID and Apple Pay support as well. The MacBook Air does not have a touch bar, but it does support Touch ID and Apple Pay. The 13-inch MacBook Pro has higher quality stereo HDR speakers and better quality mics as well. I really enjoy the Apple Touch ID support. I can use that over typing in passwords, logging into things. It's just like your Face ID sensor on your iPhone. It comes in very handy. The internal differences. On a technical level, a teardown confirms that there are a surprising number of part differences between the 2020 M1 MacBook Air and the 13-inch MacBook Pro. Perhaps noticeably that the 13-inch MacBook Pro has a fan for internal cooling, whereas the MacBook Air relies on passive cooling. But they use identical processors, the SoC, designs of the same speed, and have the same onboard RAM and storage that cannot be upgraded after you purchase the MacBook Pro or Air. However, the 13-inch MacBook Pro models do have a physically larger 58.2 watt-hour battery that delivers an estimated whopping 17 to 20 hours of battery life, which is amazing for a laptop. The MacBook Air has a smaller 49.9 watt-hour battery that pops out 15 to 18 hours of runtime, a number that's still quite impressive. I've included a comparison chart. The differences that I just spoke between the 2020 M1 MacBook Air and the 13-inch MacBook Pro, the cooling, displays, battery life, input, audio capabilities, dimensions, identifier, and starting prices are summarized in the graph. Next, I'd like to go over the M1 processor speed. I use Geekbench to benchmark all of my devices. It works for the Mac, the PC, the iPhone, the iPad, Android devices, pretty much everything. Here's a table of the single core use. Notice the M1 is the fastest of any Apple computer to date. Next is the multi-score. The Apple Mini, Air, and Pro all score within the same range, give or take a few numbers. So I cut off the bottom of the list and show the Mini, but the Pro scored just a few numbers away from that, as does the Air. They all have the same processor, the M1. Next, let's get into the hard drive speed. I opted for the 512 gig hard drive. If hard drive space ever really becomes an issue for me, I have many different external hard drives. I can use one of those to run the apps off, store photos, etc., which I'm going to go over in another video, not at this time. Because of the unified memory and the speed of everything, I also purchased the 8 gig model. Unless you sit around, in my opinion, all day editing 4K videos, in my opinion, again, there's no reason to waste the money in purchasing the extra 16 gig or another 8 gig, because again, the computer uses the memory so efficiently. It's not like your normal 8 gig laptop. As for the hard drive speed, the speed of the drive is extremely fast. I use an app called Blackmagic Disk Speed Test, and you can see in the chart the speed of the read and write speeds of the internal drive. So that's my overview of the M1 MacBook Pro and MacBook Air. It really is a game changer among laptops, and I can't wait to see what Apple's going to do next. If they come out with an M2, it's amazing. I hope you found my video to be helpful. Thank you for being here. Please click like and subscribe to my channel. Leave me a comment down below. And until next time, I'm out.